Welcome to my wrap up. My November wrap up. I don't know how to do my intros anymore. Hi, it's Cara and welcome to my November wrap up. I did end up reading 30 things in November, but it was a little bit chaos. I got really busy at work, so it was a little slumpy towards the end, but I read a lot of things and I'm very proud of the progress I made, so I'm gonna talk to you about it today. First off, in the month, I was gonna say, I've DNF'd a lot of things. I had 3 DNFs, which is pretty high for me. I had 4 5 stars, which is pretty low for me, and a lot of 4 stars. So yeah, it wasn't the best reading month all around. I did enjoy quite a few things, but I didn't love everything. A lot of 4 stars, but yeah, a couple of DNFs as well. So first off, I read Tilly and the Map of Stories by Anna James, which is the 3rd book in the Pages & Co series. The series follows Tilly, who is a book wanderer, which means she can go into stories. I love this cover, and it's like underneath, it's very cool. This 3rd installment, obviously I don't want to spoil what's happening here, but they went to America in this one. It was all very dramatic. I really enjoyed it. I gave this 5 stars. This is one of my 5-star reads of the month. I did really enjoy it. I think the series is absolutely amazing. It's a great middle grade. It wasn't technically on my set TBR for Believe the Film, but oh well, I read it anyway. And I really enjoyed it. It was just so entertaining and so fun. Paige and April also read this around the same time, so we were all really enjoying it and having a great time with it. So 5 stars for this one. It's just got great characters and a great plot, and it was super fun. Then I listened to a couple of audiobooks. I listened to The Girl and the Ghost by Hannah Alkaf. This is a Malaysian folktale inspired middle grade. It's a horror. It's kind of like about a ghost who's causing a lot of strife to this young girl, and they're friends, but she then gets a new friend, so the ghost is kind of jealous and causing all kind of problems. I really enjoyed it. It was much darker than I expected. I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't 5-star worthy for me, but I did really have a great time reading it. I would definitely recommend it. I listened to the audiobook, obviously. Then I listened to The House on Hawthorne Road by, is it Emily Gwynn? Megan Wynn. This is a weird little time travel-y kind of story set in Dublin, where a girl finds a crack in her house and she can go back in time, and it's kind of like a time loop kind of story. It was interesting. I didn't love it, but it was a fun audiobook and well rated, so I gave it 4 stars. It was good. I just didn't absolutely love it. I maybe in hindsight would put it down to a 3 stars. I think Girl and the Ghost was better, but it was still good. Then I read The Legend of Gaptooth Jack by which is the 3rd Skeleton Keys book, and this is by Guy Bass, who I think is an Australian author. These are really short early reader middle grades, and Skeleton Keys is this skeleton that has keys on his fingers, and he is in charge of like moderating the world's unimaginary friends, which are like imaginary friends that have become unimaginary and come to life. And this is a time travel story, interestingly enough, and it was really fun. I did really enjoy it. I love all these books, but they are like for younger readers, so I'm not the target audience, but I do think they're really good, so I gave them that one a 4 stars. Then I read a couple of Murder Most Unladylike books. So I read Jolly Foul Play, which is the 4th book in the series, and then I read Cream Buns and Crime, which is a bind up of some short stories and different things which kind of go around Jolly Foul Play. So I really enjoyed both of these. I gave both of them 4 stars. I don't think this was the best mystery, like my favorite mystery of the whole lot. I think Arsenic Fatigue is probably my absolute favorite from this series. This mystery was about the death of one of their schoolmates. They were back at school, and she was kind of a bully, and then she mysteriously dies, and so they're trying to solve the mystery of that. This collection was fun and interesting for what it was. It had some good short mysteries, which is why I gave it 4 stars. It's a more like an exploration into the world around the book, and I really enjoyed it, really. But I say I recommend the series with a grain of salt. Our main character Hazel, so it follows Hazel and Daisy, who have the their own little detective agency they put together at school in the 30s, I think. And my biggest like gripe is that our main character Hazel is from Hong Kong, and it's not own voices. I feel like it's used as a narrative device but not always in the best way, and I'm a bit iffy about it. Also, in a classic like Sherlock and Watson kind of setup, which is it's kind of like that. Hazel's really approachable and friendly and lovely, but Daisy is a real cow. She's the Sherlock. She's portrayed as a real cow. Where she cares for everyone, but she also like can be very nasty and careless with other people's feelings. So I wouldn't like, it's definitely playing off the Sherlock and Watson trope, but like they don't have the most wholesome friendship imaginable. So in that regard, that's a bit iffy, but I just find the mystery super fun, and I like that for middle grades they don't shy away from the blood and guts of a murder. So I really love them. Like, they're just fun. Next up, I finished a trilogy I've been working on for a while, and that is Queen of Vaults by Amanda Foody. This one just came out the past month-ish, and is the third and final book in the New Reigns trilogy, I think it's called. And this is like a Sin City, magical casinos, things going on underground, gang warfare kind of thing. This I gave 4 stars. I thought it was a really fun continuation. The magic system is kind of a lot of what's driving the tension between the characters and the plot. For me, this plot itself was a little predictable and convenient at times, but the characters are just so good, and they're so, I don't know, fully fleshed out and whole, and there's so much angst between characters that that's where the strong point of the series is. The angst between the characters is the whole key to the series. It makes it so perfect. Like, I do think even the romance was kind of, the main romance was kind of wrapped up a little conveniently, but you knew they were into each other from the get-go. It was more like from the start of the series, it was more circumstantial things keeping them apart. So then when they finally were able to get together, it seemed a little convenient. But ultimately, I love the series. It's super fun. Just the plot beats for this final one were a little predictable at times. At times, but a lot of it was good, but I don't even want to say predictable. It's not predictable, it's kind of convenient. Like, it all fell into place a little neatly at times. Then I DNF'd The Language of Ghosts by Heather Fawcett. This was not at all what I was expecting it to be. Called The Language of Ghosts, I expected a kind of eerie, atmospheric middle grade. This is not that. This is like a pirate adventure middle grade, and it just was not at all what I was expecting. I think other people could really enjoy it. I was listening to the audiobook and I didn't particularly like the narration. And yeah, it just was not for me and not what I was expecting. So I ended up DNFing it. Who knows, maybe I'll come back to it one day, but it was not what I was wanting at the time. And I didn't rate it on Goodreads. I don't rate my DNFs. Then I listened to The Griffin Gate by Vashti Hardy. This is another early readers audiobook that I read. So it's nice and short. And this is like a, yeah, early readers middle grade. It's like a younger middle grade. And this is about a girl named, what's her name? Grace Griffin. Her family's in charge of the Griffin map, which has teleportation and is kind of in charge of like fighting crimes across their little area. But her mother is busy and an emergency alert goes out across the map. So she goes to try and solve the problem. And in that gets caught up in a big little like political coup. It was really fun. I really liked the narration. I gave it 4 stars. It was great fun. The characters, things were a little predictable, which tends to be the case with early reader stuff. Obviously because it's predictable because you've seen it a lot, and early readers haven't seen these things a lot, so it won't be predictable to them. And I just, yeah, really loved it. I thought it was super sweet and fun, and a lot about empathy and things. It was really good. Then I did my reread of Artemis Fowl and the Eternity Code. I'd totally forgotten 80% of the plot of this. This is the 3rd Artemis Fowl, and we're following, Artie has found or made a device that is like an ultimate supercomputer, and he's trying to like sell it for a profit, but he's like not actually selling it, but it all kind of goes wrong. And then they've got to try and get back this device that the guy who's trying to sell it to stole. So I love it. It's super heisty. It's super fun. We love Artemis Fowl in this house. It's just such a great series. and the characters are so entertaining and so wholesome. I'm scared to watch the movie because I feel like they ruined all my favorite characters, even just from the trailer. But yeah, this one was super fun. I can't wait to continue the series. I'm still working on rereading. I've read the next 3, I think, after this one, so I'll definitely keep working my way through those, but I love this series. I gave it, what did I officially give it? 4 stars, I think. Then I listened to You Ain't Seen Nothing Yeti by Stephen Butler. This is another early years middle grade, and this one's about a little hotel that they deal with all the magical creatures, and a Yeti comes to town, and it's very fun and dramatic. It's also got some like family mystery things going on. I love the narration for this series. It's really fun and interesting the way the story is told, and then the way the audiobook narrator like plays with that. I loved it. It was so fun. I gave it 4 stars and would totally recommend it. It's the sequel to the Nothing to See Here Hotel. Then I read The Calder Game by Blue Balliet. This is the 3rd book to Chasing Vermeer, and these are all mysteries with puzzles. It's like Chasing Vermeer was described as like the Da Vinci Code for kids, and I totally get that, but it's a little drier, I think, than a lot of normal middle grades. But in this one, there's an artist who is like famous for mobiles and geometric patterns. Does it have the picture here? No. These are also illustrated throughout. And the artist has left this famous artwork piece, geometric sculpture, in this town, and the main character, Tommy, is that the main character? Yeah. Goes to, no, Calder goes. Tommy is his friend. Calder and his dad go because he's named after this artist. This artist is like Alexander Calder, and he's called Calder after the artist. So him and his dad, who's obsessed with the artist, go to this town where this one sculpture's been left. And then Calder goes missing, as does the sculpture. So then Calder's friends Tommy and Petra are called in and flown across to England, where this town is, to try and figure out where Calder went and where the sculpture went. So it's a puzzle, a mystery. It was really interestingly told. A lot of the puzzles don't lead to the ultimate ending, which is an interesting way, and that's true for this whole series. Like, some of the puzzles are steps on the way, but they don't all always contribute to the forward momentum of the plot, but they're always really interesting and fascinating, and I'm definitely keen to pick up book 4 as well, which I have ordered, and it's on its way. I gave Calder Game 3 stars. I gave You Ain't Seen Nothing Yeti also 3 stars, which I don't think I said. Next up, I read The Jeweled Moth by Catherine Woodfine. This is the sequel to, what was the first one called? The Clockwork Sparrow, which I read last Believe-a-thon. These are middle grade mysteries set in London at the turn of the century, I think, and features department store, like it's set in Sinclair's department store. Our main character is in the millinery department. Her best friend works in the, like, with the models. They're called mannequins because they like stand and walk the clothes. And yeah, it's all murder mysteries. I think who died? I can't remember. Oh, one of the like fancy society ladies died, and there's a mystery around, they're hired by another society lady to find her missing brooch. And it follows on some of the mystery plot elements from book 1. I really enjoyed it. I gave this one 4 stars. The characters are super fun. The mystery is not very predictable, which I really enjoyed. Then next up, I read The Beast, that is The Tyrant Barry Cormorant by Seth Dickinson. This is the 3rd book in the Masquerade, that's what the series is called. This series is an adult high fantasy colonialist, as in it explores colonialism and empiricism and how that is harmful, like how those harms are perpetuated and engaged in, and it's really complex and interesting. The first one's The Traitor Barry Cormorant. This is the 3rd book. Obviously, I think I said it's huge. Jumped straight to the page that I got wet. I spilled my drink on it. This took me like a whole week to read. but I had a great time reading it. It's really complex, and I think my biggest struggle with this series is that in the middle everything slows down because you don't see how it's all going to connect to the end, but it does all fall together. But I find it like that slows down the drive of a plot for me when that happens. So I did find the middle a bit dry, but by the time we got to the end I was fascinated. I can't wait for the next book. I really enjoy this series. It's super grey, morally grey. Everyone's trying to do their best, but they also are lying to each other, thinking they're protecting each other. It's very complicated, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. Next up, I read The Extremely Inconvenient Adventures of Bronte Meadowstone by Jacqueline Moriarty. Jacqueline Moriarty is an Australian author. So this is about Bronte, whose parents she's never met, and then she gets a letter saying they've died and that she has their will, which is written in magic, and means that she has to follow the words of the will to the letter, otherwise her whole town's going to be destroyed. But it's all to like visit her family members and deliver them very specific gifts and follow very specific like tasks to do. It's very entertaining. I freaking loved the narration, but I will say this has kind of a very peak and trough plot, as in there are a lot of subplots throughout as she goes and visits each aunt, and then the ultimate plot kind of is revealed over the top of that. I really loved it, but it did leave for a few little slow spots. I was listening to the audiobook, but I loved it so much I gave it 5 stars, and I had to go out and buy myself a physical copy because I loved it that much. I'm really excited to read book 2. It was just chef's kiss, so good. Then I listened to Watch Hollow by Gregory Finauer. I'm surprised I didn't DNF this one as well, because again, it wasn't what I expected in the slightest. I was expecting a middle grade horror, and instead this was like a weird fantasy where the house has a clock that comes to life that has these little live animals in it. I wasn't sold on the plot when we got into it, but I thought the characters were kind of interesting. It was alright. It was alright. It just wasn't anything fabulous or what I was expecting. I gave it 3 stars. It was alright. Then I read The Secrets of Winterhouse by Ben Goodison and illustrated by Chloe Bristol. This is the second book in the Winterhouse trilogy, Winterhouse Mysteries, and we're following, what's our main character's name? Elizabeth, as she goes back to Winterhouse, where her family are from, but she didn't know at the start of the first book. And it's just some new mysteries expanding on the first book. A lot of people are doing some creepy things. This is another like puzzly mystery book, and I really enjoy it. The illustrations are amazing, and I had such a great time reading this. It was super fun. It's very whimsical. It's not magical, it's a little bit magical, but it's mostly whimsical, and I just really love the series. The characters and plot are amazing. I gave it 4 stars. No, I gave it 5 stars. I gave it 5 stars. Then I listened to another audiobook called Amina's Voice by Hannah Khan. This is about a Pakistani girl who's kind of struggling with fitting in school. Like, she thinks she's doing fine, but she's moving into middle school, I think, just started middle school, and her best friend, who is Korean and has a Korean name, Suken? I can't remember. I should look it up. Her best friend is thinking about, when she gets her citizenship, changing her name to a Western name. And that's kind of put Amina in a weird spot where she doesn't know if that's something she should be doing. She doesn't feel comfortable with it, but she doesn't feel comfortable with her friend changing her name either. And it all just kind of puts her on edge. She also is a very good singer, but she's scared to like, she gets stage fright, and also her uncle is coming to visit, and he's very devout, and her devout Muslim, and her family are less devout, I would, not less devout, less strict in the way they interpret the Quran. And so her uncle's very like, oh, no music, no singing, and her parents have always supported her, but she kind of is questioning whether she really understands her faith and what she should be doing. It was real good to look at it was real interesting to look at the tensions and ties of faith, family, friends, immigration. All of those things was really interesting to me. I didn't love the audiobook narration, and my other fault with it was that it kind of it didn't go as deep as I wanted. So I know it's a middle grade, but I kind of wanted a little bit more from it. So I gave it 3 stars. It was really good and I definitely recommend it. But maybe the physical version, and also I wanted a little more. Then I listened to another audiobook, which is Amelia Fang and the Lost Yeti Treasures. This is the 4th Amelia Fang, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. These are by Sophie Ellen Anderson. They're super fun. Another early years middle grade. Amelia Fang's a vampire and they live in, what's the town called? I can't remember, but they're all like always in night. They sleep during the day. Sorry, I had to reposition my legs. And they're going on an adventure to the Yeti places. She's like visiting her friend's house. And some drama starts happening. It's super fun. I really enjoyed it. I love this series. I give it 4 stars. The characters are just superb. Then I read Witchwood by Tahira Murphy. This is the This is the sequel to Furthermore, which I talked about if you saw my haul, which I think is going up before this one. I did buy Furthermore in my haul, but originally I thought this plot, which is about Laylee, who is a death, she like passes on the dead, like she's a preparer of dead bodies in this magical world. Are you alright? You alright? I was really much more interested in the idea of death magic and things than I was in the plot of Furthermore, which never really appealed to me. But what I ended up loving about this was the narration. The way the story was narrated within the text and the writing style was just phenomenal. It's super whimsical, super magical, and I ended up absolutely loving this. I gave it 5 stars. The characters were all interesting and complex people. And yeah, I don't know, I just loved it to pieces. I give this 5 stars. Then I read Ironheart by Nina Varela, which is the sequel to Cry's War. I give this one 4 stars, and I have a bit of mixed feelings about it because on one hand I think the plot is very predictable and didn't really go far, like it all wrapped up very quickly. But on the other hand, I loved every character moment ever, and I was in my element loving it. So I have this 4 stars. This whole duology is a sapphic romance between, it's kind of like an enemies to lovers romance between a human girl and an Automa, and the Automa kind of took over society as like a robots rising up kind of thing. But this is sci-fi technically, but kind of is more like a fantasy in my opinion. And it's, yeah, very dramatic, very angsty. I loved all the character stuff, but the plot development was very quick. Things fell into place really fast. That kind of didn't build naturally to me. But I really enjoyed it in my heart and soul, so 4 stars. I tried reading Blood and Honey by Shelby Mahu, which is the sequel to Serpent and Dove. I got like 20 pages in and I was like not feeling it in the slightest. I don't know whether it's the book or just I wasn't in the right mood. So I'm going to chuck this back on my December TBR and I'm going to try listening to the audiobook. But I might end up DNFing it again. We will see. But for now, that was a DNF. Then I listened to Tale of Magic by Chris Colfer. This is the first in a new series that's kind of like a prequel series to his original Land of Stories series. And we follow, what's her name? Bristol, who finds out she's magical. But she lives in a very oppressive society. The whole world is very oppressive, but the magical community, who have previously been downtrodden, kind of like trying to make themselves like accepted again. It was really good, really funny, really, probably a lot more political than his original series. A lot less cheeky in its political stuff. It's much more like cut and dry political, but not in a dry way, in like a clear, it's trying to tell a message kind of way. But it didn't feel preachy at all. And yeah, it's less funny than the original series, which is a bit of a letdown, but it's still funny, it's still entertaining, and I'm really excited to pick up the second book because this is a great series. I gave it 4 stars. Then I read Hollowpox, The Hunt for Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This is the 3rd book in this series. If you didn't know, this follows Morrigan, hi sissy, who is a cursed child which means she's meant to die on her 11th birthday, but instead of dying, she gets whisked away by Jupiter North, this crazy guy, to this place called Nevermore, where she's going to try out to be part of the Wondrous Society. And this is kind of like way deep in the series now, but follows a mysterious disease where all the Wunimals, which are like, did you hear that snore? Which are animals that have consciousness and like live in society, they all start going crazy and hurting people and then losing all their like ability to engage in society. And she's trying to solve the problem of the disease. It was really good, but I do think this series, every book in this series has taken me so long to get through, and I think it's because it doesn't have a particularly fast driving plot. A lot happens, but it kind of meanders its way there, and then things get resolved right at the end. So it did take me a long while to get through, but I enjoyed every moment. It was super fun, just took forever. So I gave this one 4 stars. Then I had another DNF, which was Threads of Magic by Alison Croggon. I was just not feeling this one. I got like 50 pages in. I didn't really care about the characters. The plot wasn't going anywhere interesting, and I didn't really know that much about it. I feel like I didn't really learn much in the first 50 pages. The main character, Pip, steals a box from some aristocratic guy that has this beating heart, and I don't know if it's beating, like a dried up heart in it. But what that heart does, how it ties into anything, I still didn't know. This is a standalone, but there were like a million characters, and it made the plot all messy and murky, and I didn't know what was going on. So I didn't have to, because I wasn't enjoying myself. Then, because I was feeling really close to the end of the month and feeling like I wasn't gonna get there to 30 and 30, and I didn't want to ruin my streak. We're almost at the end of the year. I was not ruining it. So I read a couple of short things. First up, I read The Lookout by Ian Colfer, which is just a little short story about a kid whose mum is a gangster and robs banks, and he's the lookout. It was super fun and interesting, but very short. So I gave it 3 stars. I also read 2 picture books. The first one's I'm a Girl by Yasmin Ismail. I enjoyed this one. I do think my main problem with both these picture books was more about the poorly formatted transition to ebook. Both of them were pretty poorly formatted for ebook. But I'm a Girl by Yasmin Ismail follows a girl who's kind of like breaking gender stereotypes. It was super fun. Some implication of transgender issues involved, but on a very kids level. It was very approachable. It was really sweet. The other children's book I read was Adelaide's Secret World by Elise Hurst. This one was about, I don't even know, because it was so poorly formatted, I really struggled to understand it. So I gave both of them 3 stars, but I do feel kind of sorry for Adelaide's Secret World, because it would be a 2 stars, but mainly because I didn't understand, like I couldn't read it properly. So it's probably better than I'm giving it credit for, which is why I rounded it up to 3, but I was about a rabbit. I could see the pictures, but the text was very sporadic, whether it was appearing or not, and I felt like I was missing a lot. Then finally we have 2 more things. I finished, my last physical read was Explorers on Witch Mountain by Alex Bell. This is the 2nd book in the Oliver Explorers Club series, and this one was fun. We follow Stella, Starflake, Pearl, who's the main character, and her friends as they go up Witch Mountain to get back her stepdad, or her foster dad. It was fun and entertaining, but I do think this series has a level of like not high enough stakes for me. I don't know, but I just don't gel with it as well. I thought it might have been the audiobook narration for the first book, but this one still didn't gel with me great. It was alright, but I didn't absolutely love it. I gave it 3 stars. It's a fun series. I would recommend it, but like, don't hold me as your head opinion on this. There were lots of fun elements. There were lots of great things going on. I just don't mesh with the series very well for some reason. Maybe it's the writing style. And finally, I listened to The Unseen Guest by Mary Rose Wood. This is the 3rd Incorrigible Children story. This is about a governess whose 3 students were found in the forest. So they're kind of wild, and she's like trying to get them capable of engaging in human society, but there's some overriding mysteries for the series as a whole, plus the plot specific to this one. They were going on kind of like a safari adventure into the forest to get back a ostrich that had escaped, and the incorrigible children got picked because they could hunt ostriches because of their incorrigibleness. It was very fun. I love this series. I also love the audiobook narration. The characters are so interesting. I'm so perplexed and intrigued by the overarching mysteries for the series, which are still not revealed, and I can't wait to keep reading this series. I give it 4 stars. So those are all the books that I read in the month of November. There were some hits, there were some misses. My face is here, thank you. Hi. Overall, I think it was a decent month. I didn't read as much as I hoped, but then again, I was super busy, so for how busy I was, I'm kind of proud of myself. That's where we're at. Thank you so much for watching. Please comment down below if you have, what did you read any of these and what did you think of them? I would love to know. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time with another video. Bye.